Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to have the opportunity to speak about our government's efforts to improve the safety of Canada's national railway system through the Safe and Accountable Railway Act bill to amend the Railway Safety Act. And Mr. Speaker, today I'll be sharing my time with the member from Winnipeg South Centre. I'll begin by explaining to my honourable colleagues why these amendments are so important and why we should all support this bill. While Canada's railway system is one of the safest, we all recognize that, like other means of transportation, railways are not without risk. Rare, devastating accidents like the tragic derailment that occurred at Lac-Mégantic give us pause and focus our attention on improving rail safety. The amendments proposed in this bill build on the difficult lessons learned following Lac-Mégantic, address issues identified in the Office of the Auditor General's Fall Report 2013, and also respond to issues raised in the Transportation Safety Board's final report on Lac-Mégantic. My esteemed colleagues will remember that in the immediate aftermath of Lac-Mégantic, our government quickly implemented a series of immediate and concrete actions to significantly improve the railway transport safety regime. We also made enhancing the regulatory framework a priority. Let me remind the House that the fundamental purpose of this already robust regulatory framework is to protect people, property, and the environment from potential harm caused by railway operations. The Railway Safety Act, which passed into law in 1988 and came into effect in January 1989, provided the legislative authority for the Minister of Transport to assume responsibility for the safety regulation of federally regulated railways in Canada. Following a mandatory review in 1994, the RSA was amended in 1999 to modernize the legislative and regulatory framework for railway safety. Included in the amendments were regulations for railway safety management systems, which formally integrate safety into the railway company's day-to-day operations. Following the tragic Lac-Mégantic derailment and to address recommendations in the Auditor General, the AG of Canada's Fall 2013 report, the Minister of Transport committed to accelerating regulatory development to enhance the framework and further strengthen oversight of federally regulated railways across Canada. As a result, the grade crossing regulations and the railway operating certificate regulations are now in force, and the administrative monetary penalty regulations, new railway safety management systems regulations 2015, and amendments to the transportation information regulations will come into force April 1st, 2015. Allow me to highlight why each of these regulations is equally important to enhancing the regulatory framework as well as strengthening oversight and enforcement of railway safety in Canada. The first of the series of regulatory packages, the grade crossing regulations, came into effect November 27, 2014, and improved safety by establishing comprehensive and enforceable safety standards for grade crossings, clarifying the roles and responsibilities of railway companies and road authorities, and ensuring the sharing of key safety information between railway companies and the road authorities. I am certain you agree that whether we are pedestrians driving a car or a passenger on a train, we all will benefit from safer grade crossings. These regulations do just that and will lead to reductions in collisions, fatalities, injuries, and property damage, as well as reducing the potential for environmental disasters resulting from a spill of dangerous goods. The railway operating certificates for federally regulated railways came into force on January 1st, 2015. These certificates, which will be issued to railways once they meet certain safety conditions, significantly strengthen Transport Canada's oversight capacity by giving the department the authority to stop a company from operating in the event of severe safety concerns. New Railway Safety Administrative Monetary Penalties regulations introduce a new tool to the Railway Safety Programs Enforcement regime that will be used to ensure compliance with Railway Safety Act, as well as putting in place further regulations, rules, orders, and emergency directives. Amendments to the Transportation Information Regulations will improve data reporting requirements to better identify and address safety risks before accidents happen. This would improve safety by supporting better planning and performance measurement, allowing for more focused audits and inspections and targeted programs that address specific safety issues. The new Railway Safety Management Systems regulations build on the progress and the lessons learned since the first regulations were introduced in 2001. As such, federally regulated railway companies and local companies operating on federal main track will have to appoint an executive to be accountable for SMS and responsible for the operations and activities of the company. Railway companies must establish policies and procedures so that employees may report safety contraventions and hazards to the company without fear of reprisal. And railway companies must apply the principles of fatigue science to their employee scheduling processes. All these regulations build upon the existing strong rail safety program and federal rail safety rules and regulations in place to ensure the safety and protection of the public. They provide Canadians with the safest railway system possible. In addition to these regulations, Bill C-52, the Minister of Transport, has introduced amendments to the Railway Safety Act to further strengthen oversight of federally regulated railway companies and address issues raised by the Lac-Mégantic derailment and the Transportation Safety Board's recommendation, as well as the recommendations in the Auditor General of Canada's Fall 2013 report. These amendments signify better safety for Canadians and Canadian communities, strengthens safety management systems, enhanced sharing of information, and a safer rail industry in a stronger national economy. These are priorities that we all share. I encourage all members to support this bill. With your agreement, we can take a significant step forward to improve the safety of our railways for all Canadians and Canadian communities and provide a stronger foundation for our national transport system and economy for years to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Montréal-Fortin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je remercie mon confrère pour ses questions, sauf qu'il fait référence à des documents du vérificateur général que nous avons étudiés ensemble, qui étaient extrêmement sévères vis-à-vis de l'incapacité du ministère des Transports de réaliser ses mandats. En plus de ça, est arrivé le rapport du MTS, qui s'occupe des accidents de transport et qui a fait une analyse extrêmement détaillée de l'incident de Lac-Mégantic, qui était extrêmement sévère vis-à-vis du ministère du Transport. Je pense essentiellement que l'ensemble des intervenants qui ont étudié et analysé le problème disent essentiellement le ministère du Transport, dans sa philosophie de permettre aux compagnies de s'auto-régulariser, est mauvaise. Elle ne donne pas les résultats escomptés. Les compagnies ne font pas ce qu'ils devraient faire. Alors, plutôt que de simplement modifier un peu la loi, faudrait-tu pas complètement changer la philosophie et maintenant remettre en question ce sacro-saint principe défaillant de l'autorégulation? Merci.
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleague opposite. I do enjoy working with him on public accounts, and we have the opportunity to review various reports throughout the course of a year provided by the Auditor General. And clearly this one report on railway safety was one of great concern to all of us. Certainly the issue of Lac-Mégantic was one that brought focus to our committee and functionally to all Canadians on the terrible tragedy that occurred in that environment. And when we studied the recommendations of the Auditor General's report, I think it's important to note, first of all, that Transport Canada and the Minister and her officials accepted the recommendations of the Auditor General and moved very quickly to apply many new safety regulations in place that would ensure that a situation such as the horror of Lac Mégantic would not reoccur. And more importantly, and I think I'd like to just point out to the member, and I think he'll agree with me, Mr. Speaker, that the focus was taken off inspection, and while inspectors are critical for day-to-day operation, there was a greater focus put on longer-term audit. And clearly, Transport Canada has increased the number of auditors within that organization by some 85% in very short order. The training is ongoing and is very substantial as they work to create longer-term view of establishing safety operations within railways. And I think that the report that came out of that Auditor General's report by the committee truly acknowledged those changes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.